Hi, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. So I'm a very big fan of classics and philosophy, but since starting this YouTube channel, I've decided to expand my horizons a little bit and try reading books that are more contemporary in nature. So I saw on YouTube and on TikTok, a lot of people were recommending this book and I decided to give it a read. This novel follows a few characters, but two of the main ones are Sam and Sadie. Sam and Sadie meet when they are children in hospital. Sam is in hospital recovering from a very horrific car crash, and Sadie is in hospital visiting her sister who is suffering from cancer. And they bond over video games, and that is the beginning of their friendship. The rest of the novel follows Sam and Sadie over a number of years. When they are in university, they decide to work together to build a video game, and then it follows their process building that and then their experience later working in the video game industry. In university, Sam lives with someone called Marks, and he gets involved by essentially providing a lot of the funding as well as a location for Sam and Sadie to work on the video game. He is a third main character in this novel. I really enjoyed Sam and Sadie's character in particular. Sadie is very independent, she's very ambitious, and she's unlike a female character that I really think I've come across before. I would say most of my favorite quotes in this book were from Sadie. She has very interesting views on relationships, motherhood, and I found it really fascinating to follow a character like that from childhood into adulthood. For Sadie, very much it's an exploration of what it's like to be a woman in a very male-dominated industry such as the video game industry. Sam is half Korean and half Jewish, and it was interesting in the novel to see how he works to come to terms with understanding his identity. Sam suffers from a disability due to the car accident that he's in as a child, and I thought it was really interesting in this book to have one of the characters be disabled, as it's not something that I come across very often. Sam also is very much the strong, silent male type, but as the reader we get a look into what he's thinking, and so I found that very interesting in terms of understanding the mind of someone who might not necessarily exhibit things from their actions or their words, but they still very much care deep down inside. For me, reading characters like that allows me to be much more empathetic with the strong, silent men in my life. Some of the things I found really interesting were the exploration of the video game industry and giving the readers a better understanding of what that looks like. More than anything, I really enjoyed the author's exploration of what it is like to be a creative and really just be consumed with your craft. I would say Sam and Sadie very much love what they do. You can see how it impacts other aspects of their life, in particular their relationships. It also is very much a story about friendship, and you see throughout the novel how very different personalities can often clash and have issues. I thought it was an interesting exploration of friendship, although not the best I've ever seen. This also is very much a novel about trauma and the impact of trauma. So many of us go through trauma, but a big part of growing up is realizing that we have a choice and that you can get healing from that trauma. It doesn't have to dictate how the rest of your life goes. So if anything, I would say that this novel does a really good job of showing the downsides of what can happen if you don't do anything to actually try and overcome the trauma that you've experienced in life. One aspect I also found really interesting is looking at what it is like when people become successful and you're working as a team on these creative projects. It reminded me of the concept of bands, which is something I've always been really fascinated by, because you're out there creating, coming up with singles and albums, but you have multiple people who probably all want to have a say in the direction of the band and where it goes. And I saw similarities in this story when you're working with somebody else to create a video game, and issues about, is the purpose to just become successful and, pay back student debt and live a life of financial security? Or is it about having certain values and not selling out and staying true to who you are as a person? I don't think it always has to be so black and white, but in this novel it very much felt like that, and I thought it was a very interesting exploration of success and fame and also what that can do to people. Now I want to talk about some of the things I did not like about the novel. I felt like the author chose to be a little bit experimental with some of the things that she did, and I, for one, will always support an artist being creative and trying new things, but honestly I thought some of the experiments didn't quite work for me, and I would say as the novel progressed I kind of enjoyed it less and less. I think the middle part was sort of the strongest when they were in university and working on building this game, but I really did not like, I would say, the last third of this novel. I didn't like where things went with the main characters. I think sometimes authors, and I find this a bigger issue with contemporary authors if I'm being honest, where they add in too many aspects to the plot which then just make it feel very unrealistic, and I would definitely say that I think this novel struggled with that and made it to the point where I just wasn't enjoying it because it just didn't feel real anymore. So that is my biggest criticism of this novel. I also felt like there was one part where Sadie is having a relationship with an older man. Not gonna get into it because I don't want to spoil the story, but I felt like that was a very unhealthy relationship, and there wasn't really a lot of attention, from what I remember at least, brought to the fact that this was a very unhealthy relationship and that it shouldn't be what women seek out in a partner. So I had issues with that. I understand that that was an earlier time and it wasn't like the author is saying that it's okay, but I think just a little bit more done to talk about how toxic that relationship is, because if you have younger people reading these things and you're not drawing attention to the flaws in a certain relationship, it can normalize it and make it seem like it's okay. So I want to end by reading out a few quotes from the novel that I enjoyed. There is a time for any fledgling artist where one's taste exceeds one's abilities. The only way to get through this period is to make things anyway. And I think that really speaks to the creative process. I definitely have found that even with my YouTube channel, that there comes a point where there are certain things that you see and you want to recreate, but you don't quite yet have the skills to execute it. You just have to keep moving and trying things, even if you're not quite at the stage that you want to be at. Long relationships might be richer, but relatively brief, relatively uncomplicated encounters with interesting people could be lovely as well. Every person you knew, every person you loved even, did not have to consume you for the time to have been worthwhile. So overall, I liked the book. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10 or a 3.5 out of 5. It did have some strong suits, and I think the author is a really talented writer, which made the book enjoyable, but I definitely had some issues with it that just don't quite make it into one of my favorite books. Let me know in the comments if anyone has read this book or has thoughts about it. Thank you so much for watching. This channel is all about re-education and decolonizing the mind. I'm currently on a journey where I'm reading and learning new things, and I created this channel as a way to share what I'm learning with the world. If you are interested in following along with me on this journey, feel free to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.